Life Unrehearsed on CJAD 800. Brought to you by Marco Vendramini of IG Private Wealth Management. MarcoVendramini.com.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, a show about the ins and outs of family life. So your life isn't going exactly as planned? Well, you're not alone, and we're here to help out. My name is Matt Delvecchio. I specialize in free retirement home search and senior transition support.
And I'm Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of today's show, yoga expert Rozel Gonzales is in studio with us, and she's going to be talking to us about the many health benefits that yoga offers. Now, Corrie, I have to say I'm a yoga naysayer, but I've talked to Rozel quite a bit, and I might be coming around a little bit. Had no idea how good yoga could be for you. So that's coming up on the first half. Just before that, Corrie, you are doing a very important presentation soon, aren't you?
I am at that, yes. Hadassah Wiso, Canadian Hadassah Wiso. I'm going to be speaking to them. They were kind enough to invite me to their Hanukkah party, so I can talk about actually positivity, which is something that I love to talk about as well. Despite the fact that I'm a grief, loss, and bereavement specialist, I love to talk about positivity, so I'm very grateful to be able to do that with them. They are great supporters of Camp Aaron.
Very good. Good for you. I've heard you speak many times, and they're in for a treat, Corrie. And I just hope the weather will be good. Not like today. It is just raining like crazy. I was taking the dog out this morning, my 120-pound Zola, Great Dane, and as we worked out on our first few steps, Corrie, she looked up at me and said, "Really? Are we doing this?" So we did a walk in the rain, and it was a little wet, but hopefully you'll have a little drier weather and good weather conditions get people out to your presentation. What do we have coming on the second half?
On the second half of the show, relationships can be very challenging under just sort of general conditions and circumstances. Add to that an interfaith component, and we can see additional challenges, especially around the holidays. So today you're going to hear from an interfaith couple about how they're navigating their relationship, and that's coming up after the 4:30 news.
It will be very interesting, and let's get started right away. We have Rozel Gonzales in studio with us. Rozel is a passionate yoga and fitness teacher, massage therapist, speaker, I'm still going, Corrie, entrepreneur, and mother of three dedicated to helping people shine from the inside out. Following her son's battle with cancer in 2010, Rozel left a successful corporate career to follow her dream and opened the Énergie Encore Wellness Center in 2014. I've gotten to know Rozel a little more over the last few months, and to say she's a fireball would be an understatement, Corrie. She's just nonstop. And Rozel, we're really glad to have you on Life Unrehearsed. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You've got quite the history, so why don't we back up a little bit, and how did you even get started in this yoga world?
It started when I was in university. When I was in university at McGill, I was in business school, and I was having a hard time finding balance in my life. I wanted to be able to work out, and study all at the same time. And so at the time, right across the street from McGill was the Stanley YMCA, and I decided to become a fitness instructor. So I did all the things that were being done, like this was 1997, so step aerobics, and I wore like the funny headbands and the leg warmers and all of that.
John memories.
Jane Fonda.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll go with
exactly. So I started out very much on the physical side of things, teaching first aerobics and then step aerobics and spinning and all of the things that were very popular back then. And then later on, I discovered yoga. But when I did discover yoga, it was more in a gym setting. So back then, all I wanted to do was burn people in yoga. I wanted them to like feel it and to, make them sweat. And really, it was more of like a boot camp style yoga, which actually today I would say it's the exact opposite of what I actually want to do to people when they actually come to a yoga class. Started off with a very physical side of things, and later on, as I progressed, learned more about traditional yoga, learned about the philosophy of yoga, and that's really what I want to share with people today, the philosophy of yoga.
So I'm not a yoga person, and I hear wonderful things about it. I think I'm just too hyper to do yoga. So let me understand. How would you define yoga?
If you were to look back at the actual philosophy of yoga, they say that yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. So in layman's terms, what that means is that you're trying to help people find calm and serenity, trying to calm down all of the chatter that's going on inside of your head. What's important to note is that when people think about yoga today, they think about, what is done on a mat. Can I touch my toes? Can I do the splits? But basically what you're trying to do is to have better control of your body. Because what happens is if there's something wrong with your body, if you have this nagging neck pain, back pain, it's always going to become something that you're thinking about and worrying about. And you have this limiting belief of the things that you can actually do. So when you feel strong in your body, it helps you to calm what's going on in your mind.
That's Rozel Gonzales, a yoga expert, talking to us about the benefits of yoga. Okay, I'm in one of those camps, Rozel, where you got a lot of convincing to do, and partly because I have the flexibility of maybe a 2x4 piece of wood, okay, at best, and so. I don't even go there thinking that it's going to be too difficult or a little overwhelming. But like you're saying, it's far beyond that. So can you explain some of the more important benefits of yoga?
Absolutely. I mean, if we were to talk about just of the physicality first, a lot of men come in and it's a little bit too much for them to think about, calming the mind. So depending on who the person is in front of me, I'm going to, talk about something that, really resonates with them. So maybe it's a man that is completely inflexible, but maybe that man runs, or maybe he plays soccer. If I can help him to play his game without getting injured so much, or taking an older person taking a slip on the ice and not hurting themselves. We talk about strength and about flexibility and about balance. Those are the things that they understand. So that's how I would come with someone who really just understands the physicality of it. Later on, we talk about breath work and we talk about helping them to calm the mind. But you have to go step by step with the people who are in front of you and tell them what really that they can relate to.
What I can relate to is the clothes.
The clothes.
That's what I can relate to. But aside from that,
we do more than just wear the clothes.
So I would like to know why has yoga become so popular?
I think that people are really starting to open up and understand, the body and the mind connection. In the world that we live in today, things are going so fast, even with young kids and teens. A lot of the people that come to us deal with a lot of stress and anxiety, people who are burnt out. They're in this rat race, and they just don't know how to deal with it. They come to a yoga class and they actually learn how to take time just for themselves to breathe. It's a way for them to, breathe, have time for self-reflection and to work on themselves. So it becomes like this safe space for them. And they learn at first, they realize that their body feels good. And then later on, as you progress, you kind of have this good energy when you leave. And they don't know how to pinpoint it, but they know that, when I do yoga, I feel good. So I'm going to keep coming back to that.
Yeah, I guess that's where we get into the much more than the physical part of it. It's how people find calm, which is one of the big goals of that. Very quickly, you mentioned something about asana off air. Can you explain what that means?
Asana is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. So in traditional yoga, it's much more than just the physical postures. Asana means the physical postures and what you do with your body. Exactly what I mentioned to you before, that we need to work on your body in order to calm your mind. But in the 8 limbs of yoga, it also includes the philosophy, breath work, meditation, and a few other steps along that path.
Well, I think we're clearly seeing, Corrie, that it's so much more than just the physical part of it. It's approaching 4:15, but we're going to head to the CJD Traffic Center. But first, you have an incredible story about one gentleman who you literally changed his life through yoga, and we're going to hear about that. But first, let's head to Lauren Glazer in the CJAD Traffic Center.
Live Fun Rehearsed on CJAD 800. Brought to you by Marco Vendramini of IG Private Wealth Management. MarcoVendramini.com.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota with Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking with yoga expert Rozel Gonzales about the many health benefits of yoga. And before we went out to traffic, we said that we were going to ask you not even a question, but to hear a story about how yoga literally changed a man's life.
Yeah, for sure. So I asked my student if I could speak about him. His name is Adrian. And Adrian came to the studio maybe almost 2.5 years ago. He could hardly come up the stairs. He had a very severe back problem, herniated discs, and he was a biker. He was so disappointed that he could no longer ride his motorcycle that he told me it was like a big paperweight in his garage. Anyways, he started off at our center with osteopathy. Later, I convinced him to do yoga, and he felt very uncomfortable because there's many women and very few men at the time. And anyways, this man, it's hilarious. He counts the number of classes. I think he's something like up to his 350th class. And he puts it on Facebook every single time he's passed like another 100. Anyways, last summer, I was so proud of him because he was able to take his motorcycle all the way to Nova Scotia and come back. And the appreciation and the spirit that has developed because of yoga, that is honestly why I'm a teacher, because it's so rewarding to see the transformation in people. So yes, physical transformation, but also in terms of confidence, in terms of what you now believe that you can do. That's transformative. That's amazing.
That's yoga expert Rozel Gonzales. And Rozel, I want to expand on what you're saying because we tend to think of it more of a physical, I don't even recall a practice, I guess.
Yes,
practice. Okay. But it's so much more than that. And we heard just glimpses of how it really affects mind and spirit, and probably even more so. And I guess in the case of this gentleman, it was a combination of both. So can you elaborate a little bit more on the mind and spirit of yoga?
So we start with the physical body because the physical body is easier for someone to understand. When we tell someone to bend their knees or separate their toes or stand tall, that's something easy to understand. If I told someone, well, just close your eyes and quiet your mind, that is very difficult for someone to understand. So what we teach you first is how to focus, how to put all of your concentration in exactly what you're doing with every single part of your body. And then we teach you how to focus on your breath. So the practice of yoga is really concentration and focus. And when you start to see that you're able to teach yourself how to do something new, well, that gives you confidence. It helps you to stand taller. It's going to help you to be able to say the things that you want to say. Maybe you're holding back because you didn't have the confidence to say things. Maybe you see someone who starts off in the back of a class and then later on, months later, they're at the front of the class. Well, that same person then is able to tell their boss, well, actually, I want to go for the next level, or I want to try something new. And little by little, these baby steps develop and help people to move forward and to do the things and to really live life the way that they really want to and not hide anymore.
That's Rozel Gonzales, yoga expert, and she is helping us, enlighten us, in fact, about understanding both the mind and body connection with yoga and the practice of yoga. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you said baby steps, so we start off very gently and more manageable, doable things, exactly. I guess, because success, in my understanding, breeds success. So you don't want to completely overwhelm someone. No. But what about these like naysayers? Yeah. I suppose that would be you and I, Matt. What would be about the naysayers, and how do you engage them?
You mean someone who might be intimidated to start?
Yeah.
Okay. So last weekend, I was at a yoga training with Chuck Miller, who is one of Ashtanga Yoga's, great masters, and he was actually in Montreal. And he said an amazing story about comparing yoga to like the North Star. You see something that's so far away and you don't even know if you will ever be able to do it. But as long as you kind of reorient yourself and go towards that direction every single day, that's what you have to think about. Like not trying to ever get there, because you will never get there. Your practice will never be perfect. You may never get to that end destination. But every single day just going towards that direction will make it something more attainable and relieve a lot of pressure. So never think of actually perfecting anything. This is a practice. This is a lifelong journey. So taking, again, one baby step at a time.
Okay, Rozel, one baby step at a time. You talked about starting in the back of the classroom, moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't even driven into your parking lot yet before I get to the back of the classroom. Now, I talked to a couple of guy friends that I have, and some of them, sheepishly or on the side say, I went to a yoga class and I actually enjoyed it. It seems to be, from a male perspective, they're more and more popular, but it seems to be a little overwhelming for men. So are you seeing more men attending yoga classes?
Absolutely. We're seeing more men, and what's amazing is that men see results very fast. Men are strong, and what I like about men is a lot of the men that we have are so dedicated. They get that positive reinforcement. All of a sudden they're able to do something and they want more and they want more. So a lot of my men that come are most dedicated practitioners, our most dedicated students. So it's fantastic to see that.
I can see why it's difficult for men because they like get there and they go, okay, how do I win? That's sort of their
no,
perspective.
Corrie, it's I have to touch my toes.
Yeah, right.
Are you kidding?
So it can be challenging. I know that a big part of yoga, and you've already mentioned it a bit, but I'd love for you to elaborate on this whole aspect of breathing.
Basically, when you try to quiet your mind, you want to stop your mind from running in the future or going back into the past. You can only breathe now. You can't breathe tomorrow and you can't breathe yesterday. So when we focus on our breath, it brings us to the present moment. That's really what the beauty of the breath is. When you really start working on your breath properly, it helps to bring an energy in your body that, helps you to stand tall, to lengthen, to actually put some energy in your body. So that's what the breath is all about. It's sort of the path towards meditation, calming your mind. In yoga, we call it pranayama.
There we go, pranayama. Rozel Gonzales, yoga expert, talking to us about the many benefits of yoga. And just very quickly, just to expand on that a little bit more, because you always talk about breathing. An ADHD guy, type A, like myself, who can focus for a good 2.7 seconds at a time, you're really asking to stretch the boundaries. But I guess it's a combination of being more focused, focusing on your breathing, and like you say, baby steps, right?
Well, I mean, basically, if people ask me, can I do yoga? I'm going to say, can you breathe? Right? And if you can breathe, you're doing yoga.
So there we go, Corrie. We've got to focus on that. Rozel, you were very, very helpful. You're twisting my arm a little bit. I might actually show up to a class.
I want pictures.
And talk about class. You're opening up a new wellness center. Can you tell us a little bit more about the center and how could people reach you?
For sure. So Énergie Encore right now is located in Kirkland. We're very proud and happy to say that we're expanding and relocating. January 3rd is our opening day at our new center, which will be at 18 Place de la Triade in Pointe-Claire. Number 230, right at the corner of the 40 and Saint-Jean. If you want information on how to find us, you go to energieencore.com. Our phone number is 514-505-YOGA 9642. It's easy. Find us on Facebook or find us online.
And congrats. The new building is looking fantastic. Keep posting us with updates on that Facebook page.
Thanks so much, Rozel. I just want to say appreciate your time and all that information. Coming up after the news, the complexities of interfaith relationships, especially around the holidays.